Hi, everybody. So this week, I know you had Acts 2 and 3 because you're AP, so you're probably thinking, oh, this is wonderful, great. But in all honesty, I'll make this short and sweet because I'm really going to be focusing on what you should have known from Act 2, but not giving too much away because, of course, then you wouldn't read it. But Act 2, in all honesty, there's not a whole lot that you need to know. Act two is probably my least favorite act of the play, and I'll tell you why. There's just not a whole lot that happens. It's basically all about spying. So we have in Act Two, we have Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, who are, of course, spying on Hamlet. And you should have read that, and you're probably thinking, well, there wasn't much there, and you're correct. And then we also have Polonius, who sent Rinaldo to spy on his son Laertes while he's at college, for obvious reasons of why a parent would be concerned about his or her kid in college. So, therefore, that is really all that we have in Act Two. We do know that Hamlet suspects that Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are spying on him because the king and queen sent for them. He's not stupid. He realizes that. And they are his like acquaintances, not really good friends, but he just finds it odd that they are there and following him around and not at college where they should be. So the other thing that I did want to focus on is at the very end of Act Two. So before I discuss the things that you're going to preview for Act Three, the very end of Act Two, the last two lines of Act Two would be Act Two, Scene Two, lines 621 and 622, where Hamlet is in the middle of a soliloquy. And so keep in mind in that soliloquy, that means that he is giving us his thoughts. He's saying them aloud because he wants us to understand what's going on in his head. If it were an aside, he would be on stage with lots of other people. And in that particular case, those would be his thoughts, but other people are there too. A soliloquy is where he's all alone and he's, reflecting and thinking back on things that have happened. And he automatically says at one point, at that point, at the very end of Act Two, the play's the thing wherein I'll catch the conscience of the king. So repeat that with me. Not really, but I want you to think about that. The play's the thing wherein I'll catch the conscience of the king. All right, so he is going to put on a play. And when he says he's going to catch the conscience of the king, well, think about it. If you're sitting in the movie theater and you're watching a movie and, a part comes up that's really sad, if you're like me, you probably start crying even though you know it's not true. Part comes up that's really scary. You might hide your eyes or you might think about that over and over again because obviously it scared you. It's frightening. If a part is really funny, obviously your reaction is going to be to laugh. So, in the same instance, let's say, not that y'all are, going to do anything wrong because you're all perfect little innocent angels, but let's say that you get in trouble for something. Okay, so in this other world, where you all get in trouble, and maybe you're sitting here and you're talking about this situation with your parent, with your grandparent, with somebody at school, and obviously your reaction is going to be very difficult for you to control. Okay, especially if that person you're talking with does not understand the extent to what you have done. In that particular case, you know you're guilty and you're trying to hide it, but it just gets really, really difficult the more trouble you get into. Okay, so that's the same thing with the king. King Claudius, we know he's guilty, but Hamlet has got to prove it to everyone in Denmark because if not, these Danes are going to think that, he's just killing him and that he's just a murderer when no, really, King Claudius is the murderer. So, long story short, that's a huge part that leads us into Act Three. That also relates to why I am going to show you the clip from Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, one of my favorite movies of all time. That particular scene from Ace Ventura reminds me so much of Hamlet, where Hamlet is just, a master at pretending to be crazy, and he's just, showcasing all of these crazy, behaviors and actions, and all the while people are thinking, yeah, stay away from him because we have no idea, what's going on in his head. Perfect. That's what he wants, because then he can, produce this play and see the king's reaction, and hopefully others will notice the king's reaction too. And then, of course, Hamlet would have been successful. So that takes us into Act Three, where I'm going to preview a few things for you. Act Three is jam packed with stuff. It's probably my favorite to teach, so I'm missing out on that at this time, but it is so exciting. So I know you're not going to think so, but Act Three, Scene One, we have the king, Rosencrantz, and Guildenstern also speaking with the queen. And basically, the king and queen are thinking, okay, yeah, Hamlet does seem to be acting strangely to us, but what are you all seeing? Y'all are his good friends. Surely you all would be able to find out. But they don't. They're not finding out anything because Hamlet knows that the reason why they're there. So then that leads us on to Hamlet and Ophelia. So Hamlet really does have feelings for Ophelia. Ophelia really does have feelings for Hamlet, but obviously neither one of them can see each other right now because Hamlet doesn't trust Ophelia in the fact that he thinks that if he were to reveal anything to her, she would reveal it to her father, and he would be correct in that assumption. And then Ophelia, of course, has been forbidden to see him, so therefore they use Ophelia. They're taking advantage of her, and by they, I mean King Claudius and Polonius, her own father. They set her up to speak with Hamlet. So I want you to find out exactly what happens there in Act 3, Scene 1. That then leads us into Act 3, Scene 2, which is where the play takes place. So it's called a dumb show, which is a play within a play. And basically, that is simply what we were talking about, where Hamlet is going to produce this play to see King Claudius's reaction. Keep in mind that Horatio has been by his side, Horatio, Hamlet's best friend, the entire time. So there's a lot going on there. Horatio is going to be attending the play too. And in the meantime, those two are the only ones, of course, who are there to vouch that the ghost words would possibly be true, depending on what happens in this play. Okay, so once you pass the play, in the play part, I will say is a little awkward, I think, to read. So I will be posting a video of that as well because I think it's really cool to be able to see this play within the play that Hamlet is producing. And then, as a result of the play, Ophelia has no idea what to think about Hamlet. So I want you to look at that while you're reading and think, why in the world would Ophelia be confused? Because obviously she is. And then I also want for you to focus on how the king, as a result of this play, is now feeling. Okay, so that brings me now to these notes that I'm going to add for you. Okay, so basically in Act 3, Scene 1, we have a setup between Hamlet and Ophelia. Okay, Polonius and Claudius set that meeting up to find out the truth about Hamlet's insane behavior. Okay, so I want you to find out what happens. Do they really find out anything? Something like that. In Act 3, Scene 2, we have the dumb show, which is basically, of course, the play that Hamlet produced. The dumb show to find out the king's reaction to what is happening on stage. Okay, that should give Hamlet the chance to discover if Claudius is really guilty. So basically, is he able to trust the ghost message? All right, then that takes us into Act 3, Scene 3. And in Act 3, Scene 3, we have the aftermath, so to speak. So it's after the play. All right, we have Rosencrantz and Guildenstern and their reactions. we have the king's reactions, we have the queen's reactions. So I want you to read and figure out, what are all of their reactions. But I also want you to note that there is a very important part in Act 3, Scene 3. Hamlet has the chance to kill King Claudius, but he doesn't. I'm not giving anything away there, but I want you to find out why. Why did he not kill him when he had the chance? All right, and then we have Act 3, Scene 4. Now, Act 3, Scene 4 is going to seem a little odd. And Colson, shh, sorry. Okay, in Act 3, Scene 4, we have Hamlet speaking with his mother, but things get way out of hand. Okay, now I do think you're going to understand what is going on in Act 3, Scene 4, but it is one of those like spiraling out of control scenes. And so in this particular act and scene, we have Queen Gertrude is forced to either believe her husband, and of course that's her, um, brother-in-law Claudius. I'm going to abbreviate that if that's okay. Her brother-in-law Claudius, or her son, and of course that's Hamlet. So I want you to find out, which one does she side with, and what happens there. And there are lots of unnecessary things. Unnecessary events unfold in 3.4, and it is just showing that, obviously revenge is never the answer. That is Shakespeare's message. It's never the answer. And so things are spiraling out of control. Just like in The Lion King, whenever his father comes back and says, remember, and he says it over and over again, remember. And that's exactly what um, the ghost of King Hamlet is trying to tell his son, Hamlet, in this particular scene. You have got to follow your purpose and don't take it on other people. Even though, of course, he knows revenge is a sin, it is spiraling out of control. So I believe that is about it. I want you to read to find out everything else that happens. Act 3, like I said, is jam packed with quite a few things, and you're going to find out at the end of Act 3 what is the king's plan. Okay, he has a plan now too, and we're going to find out exactly what that is in Act 4, but he is going to reveal what he believes he should do in Act 3. So I'll be posting 2 clips for you to go along with Act 3. Enjoy those and enjoy the play. I miss y'all.